This is Professor Robert Needing, and today in using Desmos in Math 168, I'm going to talk about the dot plot, the histogram, and the box plot. So as you're already thinking, he must be talking about quantitative data. You are absolutely correct. So today I'm going to show you how to use and open data within inside Google Sheets, because you know I'm all about shareware and not buying things if we don't have to. We're going to do the mean. We're going to do a little bit of statistical work. We're going to create some dot plots, some histograms, box plots, and we're going to make sure we know how to share those graphs with Professor Needing. So let's start by opening up Desmos, and let's make some kind of title graph here. How about we call this quantitative? Quantitative data. Let's go with that. And as you know, I can't type. So what do we want? We need some data, right? So let's go find something. I saw a data plot over here that had a ton of information in it. Hollywood movies. Now, a couple of things here. One, you know that if I get the CSV or the XLS, one of these, this is the comma separated value, this is the Excel value. You got to have Excel to open one of these, or you can open it with a raw text editor. If you open up the text editor, some people ask me, hey, can I just open up the text? Sure, you can, but I don't know that you can read that. I can't read it very well at all. It's just raw data. That's all it is. Now, you could copy it and do some things to it, and I do that with TXT files. But I think for you, the better spot to do would be to work on this slightly differently. So let's take this and let's save this thing. So again, let's go to the Hollywood movie. Now we can download either one. I'm just going to download the CSV. So it's called Hollywood Movie CSV. Now what I want you to do is I want you to go into Google. If you have a Google account, awesome. Go to Google Drive. If you don't have a Google account, well then sign up for one. It's free. And when you do that, you get access to a whole plethora of things. And one of them is a spreadsheet option. So it's called Google Sheets. And once you open up Google Sheets, it looks just like Excel. And you can do File. And from File, we can do Import. You could also do this inside Excel too. So if you have access to Excel, by all means, use Excel. I'm going to go to Upload. I could just drag the file right here from my download, but I'll just go to Simply Select it. I'm going to go to Hollywood Movie. It's right there in my download folder. And boom, I'm going to open it up. Now it's going to ask me some questions. Do you want to replace? Do you want to detect? Yes, 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 yes. Just do your deal. All I really want to be able to see all of this crazy data in here. I mean, look at it all. So in here now, what we want is we want some column that has a certain amount of values in it for us. So, I don't know. We could use theater opening. We could use any of this stuff. We could use foreign gross. We could use world gross. We could use profitability. How about we just simply go with, let's look at something like this. There's quite a bit of data here. So how about we use the Rotten Tomato one? So actually, let's use both of these. We're going to get Rotten Tomato and we're going to get audience score. So let's grab Rotten Tomatoes here. And it would be easier. Wow, there's a lot of data here. Okay, so I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to delete this top row. And I'm going to know that this is Rotten Tomato and this is audience. So I'm going to delete this top row. So I'm going to delete this out. That way I can just click here. I can copy the whole thing. Control C. Just pure laziness on my part right there. I'm going to come back to here. I'm going to go back to here. Now, I'm not going to paste it in and then look for the front of it. I'm going to put it in first. This was the Rotten Tomato one. So I'm going to put T equal. Now, when I do T equal and I do paste, Control V, I get 913 elements. Holy mackerel. Okay, hit enter. So now I got a T set. I go back to here. I think this was audience is what this was. So I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to Control C again. I'm going to go back to Desmos. I'm going to go here. This was audience. We're going to call this A equal. Remember that we're going to paste this in. And we're going to hit enter. So we got 913 in this one. We got 907 in this one. We can see that. So let's go for taking care of some data first. Excuse me. Wow. So in this first one, I'm going to get a mean. Mean of T. Okay. So the mean of the Rotten Tomatoes is 51. So the mean score for people scoring Rotten Tomatoes was 51.7. Let's get the mean for the audience. And the mean for the audience was 61. Maybe I should make a folder right now. So I'm going to make a folder, and that folder is going to be called data. Remember, we've done this before. And if I drag these values just inside of this folder, since I made the folder second, I have to drag them in. If I make the folder in advance, well, then it's already there. They all have to be drug in so that when I collapse the folder, I'm going to be able to make my data go away so I won't have to look at it. All I'll do is try to clean up my act here. Okay, so I got these two values, and if you don't like your mean there, well, then drag your mean down below your data sets, or put it right underneath of your data set. So if you want the mean under T here, and you want the mean under A here, you can do that also. All right, well, how about a statistic? Remember, stats. We'll run the stats on A. There's the stats on A. Those are important because those make box and whisker plots. I'm gonna put that with A, and then I'm gonna run the stats on T. Here's my minimum, my quartile 1, my median, my quartile 3, my maximum. And again, all this should be inside. Oops, I'm missing one. Stats is not inside of there. See that one right there? You can go click, you can drag. If you're good, you can drag it right up into that bad boy, and there it goes. Okay, good. Okay, so there's all my data, and there's all my raw data. Let's make some actual pictures. So let's close the data, and let's make a new file folder here. And let's call this file folder, this is going to be visuals. Because remember, the visual for any given quantitative value is either the dot plot, the histogram, or the box plot. So let's start with the dot plot, because that's usually the most appropriate. So we want to run the dot plot on first. Let's run the dot plot on A, and then we'll run the dot plot on T. So let's run dot plot, parenthesis A. Automatically is going to pop up A. Now, I don't see anything. Where the heck is it? Well, remember, there's this little zoom fit. There it is right there. Look at how dense that stuff is. That's insane. I'm going to change those dots. Those dots are crazy. I'm going to change them into little X's. There's a lot going on there. Look at that. And if we go in further, we can see how dense it is. Okay, a lot of data in there. Cool looking picture, though. I like that. Now we can change the bin width if we don't like the bin width. See that number 1 right there? So if we don't want to have it count by ones, maybe we want to have it maybe bin up by 5s, and we want to look at our data a little differently, you can see it a little differently. And if you want to bin width it a little, now you can also mess with the alignment. You can go left alignment, center alignment. You can put them in the bins instead of the exacts. Now this is going to be a little bit better for you because watch what happens when I click bin. Look at that. So I bin them by 5s. Let me go back and bin them by 1s and see how it looks. Yes, it isn't too bad, but I like the bin 5 better. Just for looking. But I'll leave the dot plot alone. I'll leave it at bin 1, and we can also set that data for the bin width. Okay, let's look at A. So let's hide that for a second. That's dot plot A. Let's look at histogram. And again, we're going to look at histogram. We're going to look at A again. And that's a beautiful looking histogram right there. I like that. That's awesome. Now again, let's go look at left. Left might be better. Center might be better. You can change the bin also. So maybe the bins, so you know, a histogram doesn't have this many bins. So maybe in a histogram, you put it in 10s. And hit the button so you can see it. I like that. I like 10. So now remember, the width is 10 on the bin. I don't have 10 bins. If you count across, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 9 of them. The bin width is how wide the data can be. So it goes from this data point here, which looks like 5, 10, looks like 15 to 25. That's the bin width. 25 to 35. That's the bin width. You can also change color. Maybe you don't like the color blue. And maybe today you want orange. Okay, there's your bin width. Now, what I like about the histogram and this is that I can turn the dot plot back on and I can make a comparison between these two things. I can see how the density of the dot plot is super similar to the histogram. Because remember, the histogram is the count. The bar height is the count of how many things were going on, and this is the density. Notice the densest part of the dot plot is the highest part of the histogram, as it should be. It should always be that way. I'm going to turn off the dot plot. I'm going to turn off the histogram. Oh, by the way, on histogram, if you don't want to do counts, you can also do density, which is called, or the relative frequencies. Remember, you got to hit the little thing again. So it just changed it into percentages or relative frequencies like we do with two-way tables. So 0.2 or 20 percentile, a little bit over right here in this major one, and just a little over 10% right here. And if you turn dot plot back on, it's probably going to look even a little bit better when you look at those too at the same time, the densities. So I'm going to get rid of those. I'm going to get rid of those. What haven't we done? We haven't done a box plot. Let's do a box plot. I want to do a box plot. I want to do a box plot of A. Okay, where to go? I don't seem to see a box plot of A. Now, look at the little thingy. It says box plot requires a list. And notice what I did. And I did this for a reason because I had somebody email me earlier and go, Neating, it's not working for me. Look at my list. My list is little a, and my box plot is big A. Can't do that, okay? You have to put in the proper code. Now, that's a pretty ugly looking box plot. I'm going to hit this button. It says zoom fit, and look at it there. We can also change the height of that box plot if we need to make it taller, and we can also move it up and move it down. We can exclude and include outliers. I'm including outliers, but I don't see any. There's none in there. It's too bad. I'd like to see some right now. So there's a nice looking box plot. Now, what I really like to look at is I like to look at the box plot compared to the histogram. So if I take a look at these two, I can again see, remember what a box plot does. A box plot shows the density of an item. And I'm going to go to the actual count. I'm going to have to do a little adjusting here. I'm going to have to do a lot of adjusting here, actually. It's going to be too much adjusting. If I put this on here real nice. So I got to move my box plot up to about 200. So I'm going to move it up, offset 200. I'm also going to give it a more of a height. I'm going to give it a height of 10. I'm going to give it a height of 20. All I'm doing is adjusting the height of the box plot and everything right now. And I'm going to move this up to 205. So it's above. So this box plot is showing me the maximum to the minimum. And it's also showing me where the density is happening. 25% of the data is in this first quartile 1 to the minimum right here. And look at this. This is going to be 25% of my data. 25% of my data is sitting right here. And we know that under a normal curve, that 50% is from the middle to the left. And look at where the box and whisker is at right here. Right here is the median, and right here is the middle going 50% to the left. I really like the comparison between these two things. And if we took it and we pulled in the dot plot at the same time, we can see how the three things interact with each other. I would encourage you to continue with this and to then go back and do B and then compare A and compare B at the same time. I did say that I would make sure I went over again, how you send this to me. So let's say that you have all this done, you have all these visuals done, you've put everything together, you've made it all nice and pretty, and maybe even wanted to write a note in here to Professor Neating, you want to write something here. Now, you can do add item here, and you can choose this, or I like shortcuts, right? So a shortcut is the quotation key, and you see histogram. So maybe you make me a little note on there and you send that. You go up here to the share graph. In the share graph, it gets your location. You do a copy for that. In order to do this, you have to be signed in. So you have to be signed into your Desmos account. You save that. You could also export this image and paste it into something for me if you needed to. But this copy, you can send that copy to me. I can see what it is you're talking about, and then I can actually make corrections on it. I can send it back to you. Next time I see you, we'll be doing something else way cool in Desmos.